Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Stop Complaining, Work Harder. I'm Carey Davis right here in the Work Harder studios with the Face for Radio. Now stay tuned through the show because at the end we got another great portion of Bullshit Bingo where we're going to play Bullshit Bingo Roulette, where I just close my eyes, slap my finger down on the page, and whatever word it lands on, we're going to talk about that today. So it's going to be a lot of fun. This series is dedicated to managers in the U.S. government. Supervisors, managers, senior executives, I don't care who you are. The government generally, there's a few good trainings out there, but generally gives its managers really crappy training. They give you no training at all, throw you to the wolves, and buddy, the wolves are everywhere once you get out there. And then when you screw up, they say, how could you do this? Well, I'm going to give you the benefit of all the times I screwed up, and my bosses looked at me and said, how could you do this? Or, man, you're really out there. How are you? Okay. So let's talk about things you can do to screw up. Well, we've talked about a lot of things, and I will tell you, if there's anything you take away from this series, it is electronic communications discipline. Do not use email, Twitch, Twitter, text messaging, whatever the hell. If your finger's on a keyboard of any type, or your voice to anything electronic, stay the hell off of it. If you got to talk to someone, talk to them. Okay? It's going to save you a lot of effort. But one of the things it's going to save you from is the topic of the day. And the topic of the day is a big one. It's one that you will deal with. I don't care who you work for. If you work in the U.S. government and maybe even in the private sector, the way things have been going lately, you are going to have to deal with the EEO process. If you don't know what EEO means, it's basically non-discrimination. For the people who aren't in the U.S. watching this, I know it sounds weird, but in the U.S., particularly in the government, there's an entire structure where people have entire career paths whose only job it is to look at equal employment opportunity claims. In other words, discrimination claims based on various factors. I think there used to be 7 when they taught me, but now I think if you offend a tree, the tree files an EEO on you. If you don't call the tree an oak when it believes it's a maple. I don't know. I don't care. I don't work for the government anymore. If you're offended by this, tough shit. So, I can say that because what are you going to do? EEO me? Bring it on. Anyways, being the white male whose first supervisory job was in Atlanta, Georgia, admittedly a very African-American town, I saw my share of EEO complaints. And as time went on, in a quarter century of being a manager, I had them from all sectors, everything from racial discrimination, which is what you expect most of the time, to age. I had age discrimination complaints. I had gender. One guy who was an African-American gentleman, wound up being a great friend of mine, but his first EEO complaint against me was based on his nationality, and I looked at the EEO counselor who came down. The way the DOJ did it, they sent you an EEO counselor. She came down and she opened the file and she said, yeah, his complaint is about his nationality. I said, but we work for the U.S. government. How is he not American? Oh, he is. He was just born in another country. Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. And, you can get hit with almost anything. Almost anything. The single most common EEO complaint you're going to get, especially as you become a second or a third line supervisor, senior executive, even higher, is non-selections. So every time a vacancy announcement comes open, and let's say there's a list of between 6 and 20 people on the list, best qualified list, whatever you want to call it. Every agency does them different. Every department does it differently. But I noticed at DOT, basically everybody that applied was on the list. You had to really try not to make the list. I know there was a scoring system and all that, but they might get lists with 50 people on it. Whereas when it was the DOJ, I think they had a 6-person best qualified list to be his top 6 scores. However that worked out. But one way or the other, you're going to get a list. You're going to do interviews, and the last few years I was in the government, they had to be structured interviews. Everybody had to be asked the same exact question. Why? To protect yourself, and I'll explain why in a moment. So then you get the panel together and they give you a recommendation, and you look at the recommendation and you look at all the data that the panels put together based on the interviews and based on the resumes, and you make a selection for the person you think is the most qualified for this position. And everybody who applied, not just the people on the list, everybody who applied feels like, especially here in the 21st century, they feel like they were the most qualified person for this position. There's no way in hell any other human being could be more qualified for that job than them. Or worse yet, you selected someone they personally dislike. And so then they're going to file an EEO on you, and I don't care what their race, gender, nationality, creed, sexual orientation, it doesn't matter. They're going to file a non-select EEO on you because you discriminated against them, because obviously they were the better candidate. Obviously. And I say all this, and it sounds like I have a lot of derision for the EEO process, and I don't have derision for the EEO process. I personally feel it was a necessary process that came about because there was probably a time, there was definitely a time when people were discriminated against. I can tell stories about that, but I won't in this form. But it has become so ingrained and abused by employees, not because they're sneaky or mean or malicious, but because the process as it has evolved makes itself amenable to being abused. If any of you Doge people watch this, or Trump administration people watch this, or if there's ever another presidential administration that actually gives a shit, understand the EEO process as of today, 2026, means itself. It wants to be abused. And a lot of that is because, like I said, people have created entire career paths out of the EEO process. Their career depends on people being aggrieved. It's an industry at this point. And one of the reasons it's an industry is because the remedy, a lot of the times, is just paying people money to go away. And when people get paid money to go away, the lawyers get a third, and other civil servants make careers out of it. And that's not to say it's not necessary. I personally have seen discrimination. I've been discriminated against. There's not a doubt in my mind. I didn't file over it. I sucked it up like an adult human being, put my nose to the grindstone, worked hard, and went from a GS5, actually a part-time GS5, all the way to a senior executive in the course of my career, by hard work and not having to file, and frankly, by taking a lot of chances. If you don't get in trouble coming up, a little bit of trouble, sometimes a lot bit of trouble, don't go to prison or do anything criminal, but if you're not getting in trouble, making your boss pull their hair out, you notice I'm missing quite a bit because I've had a lot of employees that were good employees and made me pull my hair out, then you're not doing the job, and you're probably not cut out for management, because it takes a little bit of daring do sometimes. You have to be willing to take that leap of faith or make that jump, or frankly just unzip your shirt, jump out in the middle of the fight and start swinging. That's how life is. And you know what? At the end of the day, take your lumps like an adult. When they come at you and they're pissed off, stand up, say, yeah, I did it. And take your lumps. Write the memo. Oh no, you're upset with me because I did the right thing. Oh no. Oh my God, it'll be horrible. I digress. We're talking about EEO. So someone's going to file an EEO complaint against you. And if you can make it through an entire career with no one ever filing an EEO complaint against you, you weren't a very good supervisor. I've probably told this story before, but my very first manager, when I became a supervisor 25 years ago, he sat me down and he said, if everybody loves you, you're not being a good supervisor. Your job is to make decisions. And I'll tell you, if you're a manager, your first job is to make decisions. And not everyone is going to enjoy your decision. And some people will hate you viscerally. Some people will make you responsible for every problem they have in their life. That's okay. Take that as a badge of honor. Enjoy it. Run with it. Make it your own. So, every agency, every department, probably every company has their own way of handling the EEO process. And like I said, I've been in 3 different departments, and probably within those departments, agencies have their own ways of doing it. I know I work for CBP. CBP has its own infrastructure separate and apart from DHS. So you may actually have to deal with CBP's people, and then when you're done with them, you may have to deal with DHS's people. Or in another agency, you may have to deal with your agency's people, the department's people, and OIG. You just don't know. But the answer is, there's probably 3 generalities as to why you got an EEO suit filed on you. Okay? And generality 1 is you discriminated against someone. May not have been for one of the reasons. It may have just been because you don't like that son of a bitch. That's okay. You didn't like him. I don't want that person on my team. Don't say it out loud. Don't say it in front of other human beings, even those people you trust most at work. They will be the first ones to rat you out. I'll never forget when I was the port director of Atlanta, I had an employee who was on his 3rd DUI, where they found drugs in the car with this person. And I said to one of my most trusted advisors, why is this guy still working for us? The next day, I had chief counsel call me in his office. You can't say that out loud. I said, I didn't say it out loud. I said it in the privacy of my own office. And he said, yes, but people heard you. And that was one of the things that led me to understand that you can trust no one. There is no such thing. I said this before. It's a line from a 1960s movie called Zulu with Michael Caine. When one assumes command, one does so alone. I assure you, all the people that are your friends who protect you, your buddies, the ones that are always there for a good time with you, your support sisters, when things get tough, they ain't gonna be there. They will leave you, and they'll leave you so fast you'll still see their shadows when they're 5 miles away. I promise you. So, suck it up, Buttercup, because you chose to be a manager. And that means being an adult. So anyways, you may have discriminated against someone. May have been inadvertent, but you may have done it. It happens. Or you just may be a piece of shit and should never have been a manager to begin with. I don't know. One way or the other, now you're facing the EO suit because you did something stupid. Or you could just be stupid and did something ignorant. It happens. And you'll deal with that and work through it, and you and your agency are going to work through it. The nice thing is if you were honestly trying to execute your duties, if you got an EEO suit filed against you while you were honestly trying to execute your duties, which in the case of non-select and that kind of thing, it's fine. Now, if you're going to have sexual relationship with an employee, you get what you deserve. If you're going to, try to blackmail someone, I've seen these things. This is not uncommon. If you're going to try to blackmail someone and send them compromising pictures through the mail or the internet, lots of the people are stupid. People are incredibly stupid. And you'll see these things as you go through your career. Do not be surprised by what you see. Okay? So anyways, there's no defense against that. Your best thing to do is tell your lawyer, and pray and hope you've got a personal lawyer, because I assure you, if you were doing something discriminatory or that's a violation of EEO outside the scope of your duties, government counsel is going to run away from you. They're not going to touch you with a 10-foot pole. Whatever immunity you thought you had is going to be out the window. So you better think hard before you do something that stupid. So anyways, that's the first generality. You did something wrong. The second generality you're going to run into is you had to make tough decisions. People didn't get what they want, and they're upset by that. And that's okay. That's your job. That's why you're there. Make a goddamn decision. And if you got to put up with EEO stuff through it, it's just business. It's what you get paid for, in point of fact. It's why you make more money than other people, because you got to put up with it. Now, the last category, and the most likely in my experience, is that you have employees who figured out that they can spend their entire working life filing grievances and EEO claims and not have to do their real job. These people are serial complainers. They fall into the oxygen thief category that I've discussed in earlier episodes of Work Harder. And they are the kind of people who can never be happy. They think they're going to get you. I'm going to get him on this one. I'm going to get him. Or worse yet, they're the narcissistic type who think you're out to get them. They think that you are coming to get them, and that's the end of it. And these are the people that abuse the system, that give it the bad name. These are the people who hurt the people who are filing against you in the first category. You see what I'm saying? They're the ones that make everybody go, oh, he had some kind of EEO suit. What a load of shit. And most people, when they talk about people who have won an EEO suit, employees who've won an EEO suit, the underlying message is they scammed the system. They got over on us. They paid that person X amount of money just to make them go, I cannot believe that crap. I don't know. Every case is different. But there's things you need to understand about the EEO system. And I'll tell you, there's some really good things that come out of it too. I will tell you, one of my favorite people, one of my best friends in the world, started with her misconception that I was out to get her. Because I started with a new agency, and every time this person would brief out to me, I would just get too much information. It was, in my mind, I was hearing someone who was obfuscating the truth. Because it's an old adage. I even saw a comment once here that alluded to it, but it's, if you can't bedazzle them with brilliance, you baffle them with bullshit. And that's what I heard. And so, frankly, I came down on this person. I'm not dealing with you anymore. I don't understand. We're not doing this. And she filed an informal complaint, and we had a mediation. And mediator was fantastic. We got in there, and she laid out her case. This was her perception. And I understood why my actions could have been perceived that I was out to get her, or I was just being mean to her because of her. And they weren't. I was just frustrated because I didn't want to hear all that mess. And when I laid it out my way, we kind of understood each other. And afterwards, we became really, really, really close friends and colleagues. And they're very, like I was saying earlier, you don't trust anybody. You're on your own. There's very few people I trust in this world. This person I trust explicitly. I know when this person tells me something that she is 110% accurate. I also know that when bad shit was coming around the corner, and when you're a senior executive, bad shit's always lurking around the corner. Trust me on this one. She would let me know. She was my eyes and ears. And it was all because the EEO process put us in a position where we had to communicate. And so this is a big, big deal. Communicate with your people. Learn to be friends with people, even if you don't think you're going to like them. You never know. But anyway, there's very positive things that come out of EEO. I've experienced. I hope you do too. And just because let's start with a baseline. Just because you have an EEO filed against you does not make you a bad person. Just because you have an EEO filed against you does not make you a bad manager. And so any of you, if you have managers who have a line on your performance plan that says didn't get any EEO violations this year or didn't have any EEO complaints against them this year, you don't allow that. You go into that performance plan and you negotiate your way out of that, because that is a bad, bad start. Now, almost every manager has a section about conforms to supports EEO activity and all this thing, and that's fine. But part of supporting it is getting complaints and dealing with them in a professional manner. So if your supervisor is telling you can't get EEO complaints, well, no, that means I can't make decisions. That means I can't be a supervisor. I can't be a manager. I can't be a leader. I have to make decisions. I have to lead and guide this group, and not everybody's going to like that. And you're absolutely allowed to have that discussion and negotiation with your boss every year. I've done it many years, as far back as the mid-'90s. When I was working for the INS at pre-clearance in Nassau, I had a manager, great dude, but it was their standard performance plan, and it was get so few complaints every month. And I'm like, my job is to tell people no. My job is to be the bad guy. That's what I do for a living. And you're telling me I can't get any complaints? And so we negotiated that out, and he changed the wording to substantiated complaints of rude and unethical behavior, something like that, which I was fine with because I was never rude. But I'll tell you, no, got no problem there. So anyways, as you go through this, you're going to get EEO complaints. Doesn't make you a bad person, okay? But your initial thought when you get it is, what the hell did I do to you? It's okay. Calm down. I can tell you, whenever you get any bad news, it's just like writing an email. You can think a lot of bad things, walk in a room by yourself and say a lot of things. Then go have a cup of coffee, tea, whatever you want to, Coke, whatever you drink. I don't care. I'm not going to bring up Pepsi because you people are just wrong. But go take time and settle yourself down. Calm yourself. Collect yourself, and you'll have to do it. The first time, particularly the first time you get an EEO complaint, it's like, what did I do to that piece of work? Just calm down, relax, and remember, it's just business. You get paid whether you're actively managing your employees or you're in the middle of an EEO complaint. You're getting paid. What do you care? Do your job. Your job is to handle it and move on. So, you get the EEO complaint, your agency will have a process. Follow that process. Let the process take you where it is. Speak the truth. Do not lie. Do not hide. Do not obfuscate. Do not, oh God, please, do not delete any electronic communications. If you were stupid enough to make them, they're out there. You can't delete them. Somebody's going to find them, and you deleting it makes it look 1,000 times worse than it is. So again, electronic communications discipline, don't forget this. But anyway, follow the process. Worst case scenario, the agency's going to take a little bit of a hit, probably have to pay somebody some money, and there you go. Unless you were doing something, as I described earlier, like having an affair with an employee or worse yet, somebody you regulate, or you're doing something criminal, you're probably not going to get fired. You're probably not going to get removed from management. And I say probably because I don't know how stupid a thing you did, but in the course of normal operation, if you're working within your scope of your duties, like I said, most EEO claims come from non-select. If you went down the list and you made an honest effort to pick the most qualified person, which is what you should be doing, then you're fine. Things not to do. So the first thing you need to understand is every action you make, you should be thinking about your own protection. And it starts with insurance. Get professional liability insurance. I don't care if you're in law enforcement, not in law enforcement, if you deal with the public, if you don't deal with the public. If you are a supervisor, manager, leader, senior executive, you need professional liability insurance. Because you never know when government counsel is going to say, I just can't do this. Or worse yet, government counsel wasn't competent enough to work in the real world. So with professional liability insurance, when you get in trouble, they're going to give you money to go out and find a private attorney who's probably a whole lot better than government counsel, and they can defend you if it comes to that. Most of the time, just following the EEO process will get you through it. But there may come a time when you need it, and that $300 a year that the government pays you half back, at least that's the agencies I've worked for, what they did, and you could deduct the other part of against your taxes, was worth every penny. Worth every penny. Now, excuse me, I don't edit these videos. This is just raw. I just shoot it. And to digress a little bit, I spoke to friends who watched these videos that said, man, you're working in a trailer, it looks ghetto, all this stuff. And I'm like, yes, I'm just going to sit here and talk to you, man to you, whatever you are. And you can listen to me or you can not listen to me. I really don't care. But, I could get AI and do all kinds of crazy effects and make it look like I'm in Fiji and all this other. I'm not going to do that. It's just me and you talking. So, follow the process. Follow the EEO process. Protect yourself. Get liability insurance, professional liability insurance. A lot of insurance agencies do it. I assure you, your boss or your boss's boss knows who to get it through. If not, your HR department does. They can give you some suggestions anyway, or you can just Google it, whatever. The next thing is you need to think, what is going to get me in trouble? Every decision you make should be tempered with, am I discriminating against someone? Is it going to be perceived that I'm discriminating against someone? Am I going to get in trouble for this? And then you got to weigh, is making the right decision and the trouble that it's going to bring you worth making that decision? And people will say, that's not what you just said, Carey. You said make a damn decision. I said, yeah, make a damn decision, but you got to weigh all these factors into it. Think about what you're about to do. Is what you're about to do gonna be more trouble than it's worth? I'm not telling you to be scared of something. If you're willing to stand the heat, hang around the kitchen. Deal with it. That's what I did. Some people aren't built for that. I don't think those people should be managers. But hey, a lot of you are. So, if you want to be a weasel and be scared, be a coward, that's fine. Don't, make your decisions based on what's going to not get you in trouble. That's your call. But the fact is you'll be making the wrong decision. So, I'm sorry. So, but think about these things. If I select this person, I'm going to have 4 non-selects. Am I wrong on any of those? Not 4 non-selects shouldn't affect my decision. But am I wrong in any of those? Am I making the decision? Am I selecting the person that's most qualified without regard to anything else? And one of the things that'll do is there's going to come a time when you're going to see your best friend on that list and you're not going to select him. Then you're going to find out who your friends really are. And it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be real tough. But you're going to have to do it. And you got to make the right decision. And you won't make the right decision every time. You're going to make bad selections. I can tell you I got bad selections that haunt me to this day. And that's okay. It's just part of life. You're human like everybody else. But you got to think, if I do this, am I cutting someone out? Why am I doing this? What's going through my head? Am I picking the best person to do this job, or am I not? Am I picking my favorite person to do this job? And you gotta detach yourself and look at the whole thing without feelings or emotion. And sometimes you'll see, you know what, I'm doing this because, frankly, I'm biased. I like this person. I know they're going to do a good job. And, but I'm cutting these other people out from opportunities. So you got to weigh all that. But at the end of the day, you still got to make that decision. And then, when the suit does hit you, you have to be professional about it. You don't call them in your office and say, what the fuck do you think you're doing filing an EEO suit against me? You can't do that. Sure way to lose. You will lose the moment you even act untoward. The moment you act perturbed, annoyed, upset, like you got an itch when you're around them, if you avoid their presence because there's an EEO suit filed, that just makes it worse. You can't win that fight. You'll lose it. But what you can do is you can avoid one-on-one conversations with that person. And I suggest that. Once an EEO suit's filed, you don't want to have private conversations, even pleasant ones. You do not want to be in a room alone with that person. You don't want to interact with them unless it's a professional capacity and a way you have to do it. And you're allowed to do that as a supervisor. You and I aren't talking right now. Once I'm ready to assign you work, then I'm gonna bring you a work assignment. But you got to be professional. Don't be an asshole. Don't even sound sharp. Calm. And just make the work assignment and expect work to be completed. That's all you can do. And if they don't complete it, you don't shy away from admonishing them or counseling them for not completing the work just because they got an EEO. Now, that's a great thing. Let's talk about, I forget what they call it, but it's retribution, perceived retribution. I filed 2 EEOs, and you're just doing this to me because you're upset. Or I won my EEO grievance, and you're just doing this to me because you're upset. No, I assigned you work, and you didn't do it. So you're in trouble again. Go ahead, file another EEO. I don't care. But I'm going to keep assigning you work, and until you do it, you're going to keep getting discipline. And so the most important thing to do, the way you deal with that, is notes. Document, document, document. I've said it before. Contemporaneous notes, retaliation, that was the word. But contemporaneous notes are notes, you can handwrite them, you can type them, you can do whatever, but date and time them. and put them in a little file or a folder. I used to have a manila envelope that just said problems. I would handwrite situations out when I would see something, date it and sign it, and just slip it in there. And it saved my hide more than once. So, electronic communications discipline. Do not discriminate if you don't have to. You're still going to get EEO complaints. Be professional. Communicate professionally. Protect yourself. Get professional liability insurance. And above all, remember this. It's just business. Do not hold grudges. It's just business. It's one of the most difficult things you can do. All right, we may talk about this again in the future because it's a broad subject. If you got any questions or concerns, throw them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And while you're at it, like these videos. Just lets me know people are paying attention. Now look, I'm on one of the pages of the bullshit bingo work. These are words that government employees use to sound smart when they're actually average, okay? They were probably made up by very intelligent people, and they were copied by government employees. So, what I did was for 3 years during COVID, while I was sitting on a couch on Teams meetings, whenever I would hear a bullshit bingo word, I would just write it down. I got 7 single-space pages written down in this book, okay? So today we're going to play bullshit bingo roulette, and I am going to close my eyes and just put my finger on the page, and wherever it lands, that's the word we're going to talk about today. Okay, you ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, this is a good one. Facilitated discussion. Facilitated discussion right there. Facilitated discussion. Oh my God, I gotta check my that. I heard this in a meeting and I was like, whoa, what in the hell is that? So a facilitated discussion means you have a topic and someone is actually there telling you what to say or think, leading you down that path. They're curating that discussion. Back to one of my earlier bullshit bingo words. It is ridiculous on its face. A discussion has a topic or it doesn't. A discussion is focused or it's not. But to have a facilitated discussion, someone telling you where the conversation is going to go and what to think, or even guiding, to me, it's ridiculous. It's insane. Do you? And I keep bringing this up in the bullshit bingo shorts I put out. Do you go to your family and say, family, we're going to have a facilitated discussion about what to eat for dinner tonight? Let's decide where we're going to go on vacation this year. Maybe we should have a facilitated discussion about that. Is that how you speak when you're not in the office? Is that honestly how you talk to your family, your friends? When you're in the break room at work, do you talk about a facilitated discussion? No, nobody does. No one, anywhere. Anyway, that's it for me. Like, follow, don't like. Hell, I don't care. Hit the dislike button. Send me comments telling me what a jackass I am and how ghetto my trailer is. My trailer, the Work Harder Studios. This place is fantastic. Anyways, hope to see you next time. Do good. Be a good manager. All the best. Davis out.